Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about walls. Last time we discussed boundaries, and it was about how healthy they can be for you and how they bring you closer to your loved ones. But today we're going to talk about pretty much the opposite of that. How we construct our walls to keep people away, to keep ourselves safe from hurt and pain, what they look like. What do those walls do for you? And is it time to take them down? Hello, I'm Carol Deshane, your intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters and certified Marconics energy recalibration practitioner. Before we start on exactly what walls are, I did want to mention that I am going to post a separate video on a guided visualization to help you recognize your walls and start to take them down, or continue to take them down if you've been working on it for a while. I was going to post it at the end of this video, but I realized when I started thinking about it that there's a lot to talk about, and I want you to be able to have a separate video, pardon me, a separate video so that you can start it whenever you want and not have to listen to the explanation every time. Because I think it's one that you'll get something out of every time that you listen. So now to get started, let me talk about first, what is a wall? A wall is an energetic field that we put up when we're not feeling safe or when we are not in the best place. They are an energy that people can see. Sometimes, a few people can, but a lot of people can feel those feelings. They can feel the wall around you, and they may or may not be aware of it. They may just feel like they can't connect to you, or you may feel like you are just sort of reserved, or maybe they feel you're overbearing. But in whatever sense it is, they can feel it. And sometimes people just react. They don't know they feel it, but they can react a certain way as though they can see the wall itself. And why do we have them? Well, like I halfway mentioned a minute ago, it's because there's some sort of trauma or event that happens with someone or a circumstance that makes you feel unsafe, afraid. Maybe it makes you feel like no matter what you do, you can't do something right and you don't want to be embarrassed. It's just whatever it could be. It could have been from the school bully, that person that caused you to put a wall up, or it could be your parents, or a significant other, or even just a boyfriend when you were 5 that hurt your feelings. And so you put a wall up against that person. And sometimes those walls grow. Kind of usually they do. They grow, and they not only affect the one person that caused you to put it up in the first place, but maybe it's the whole group of people. So instead of just your parents, if your father hurt you in some way, it could be every authority figure. Maybe it's the police because of that. Maybe it's a teacher that you were never good with teachers. Or maybe if it was a significant other or a boyfriend or a girlfriend when you were really young that hurt you and abandoned you and they hurt your feelings or they did something, maybe you put a wall up so high that nobody that was a significant other type. You didn't even date maybe, or maybe you were a serial dater, but you never let anyone get close because you didn't trust them because of something in the past, whether you recognize it or not. And some people, when they put up walls, what we're doing is we're putting up a cocoon around ourselves. We want to feel safe. We want to make sure we don't get hurt again, in whatever form that may take. So we put up walls. And those are different from the boundaries I talked about last time, because walls are things that wall us in and away from everyone, and boundaries are healthy, and they make you connect to people in a healthy way. They know where their line is and when they cross it, but you do let people in. A wall just keeps people away. So the next question you might want to ask is how to recognize if you actually have a wall. I mean, how do you recognize that in yourself? Sometimes it's really hard to recognize things in yourself, and it's easier to see it in others. So let's start there. And you may actually be listening to this video because you can't get through to someone and you want to know how to connect to someone who has a wall. The way to recognize someone who has a wall is if they feel disconnected to you. You can't seem to connect to them and they aren't very communicative, and they have a wall. If they're shy, wall. If they have a fear of commitment, it's a wall. If they're feeling, they actually appear and feel cold to you, or just not very nice, a lot of times they're hiding behind a big, tall wall because they're afraid of being hurt, no matter how cold they appear on the outside. So sometimes just know that that person who you think is, what is their problem? They just have a big old wall up because they're scared. And they may not even know it. They're afraid of being hurt. They're afraid of being just not safe. And so that's what they've done. Now, if you have your own wall, you're going to find that you feel maybe alone, or maybe you feel even in a big crowd, maybe a group you've joined, you feel like you're not really one of the group. You feel like you're disconnected from them. Even if you are on a board or of directors of something, or you're in a club or a team, you just may not feel like you're one of the group. And it's because there are walls up that you've created. Now, sometimes you put them up with romantic partners, and when that happens, you may be with someone for years and suddenly say something, and the person may look at you and go, "Who are you? I never knew that about you, and I've been with you for 20 years. And that's when it's really sad, because we never let them really know who we are. So the next question is, what type of person or circumstances might you have created a wall against? Well, it does start with one person generally, somebody that made you feel unsafe, insecure, but like I said before, it may spread to others. And the more that you are aware of who or what causes you to put up the wall, if it's only one type of person, like with me, it was always romance. Ooh, don't let him see me. I don't know why. I had no idea why. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But those are the only type of people I really kept out. So if you can be aware if there's a specific time, then that will be really helpful for later in this conversation. So think about that. So what are the pros and cons of having a wall? I mean, the pro is, well, I can only really think of one. If you are currently and still in a relationship or in a circumstance that makes you feel afraid, that makes you feel fear for maybe your safety, or that someone will hurt you in such a deep way that you would have trouble coming back from it, then it may be the best thing to keep a wall between you and that person, or to remove yourself if you can from that person. Obviously, that's the healthier thing, if you can. The cons of having a wall up are rather numerous. I mean, it keeps you feeling alone. It keeps you feel, and you might keep depressed because you're just simply not connecting. And the human condition is generally to connect with others. And if you don't connect with others, you're going to feel alone and maybe disconnected. And just the whole thing about having walls is that even if you want a loving relationship, if you want the perfect job for yourself and the perfect career and to have kids and all these other things, you are never going to have as much connection to those things, as much peace and joy and feeling a really strong connection to that whole scenario that you want if you still have walls up. So why take them down? Because of that very reason. If you want more in your life, if you want the joy and the things that you don't have, this is a reason to take them down. Now, you might be able to take them down just because they're all old and you just have them there. It's like leaving a building behind as it's crumbling behind you, but you haven't taken it down yet, so you can't build anything new. You need to just demolish these walls and move forward. If you're ready, if you're done with those old fears and you're ready to stop hiding, and you don't need that extra security between you and the world. This was a little bit metaphysical, this question. So what does your wall look like? And I know you may go, oh my God, what is she talking about? But that's okay. Because if you can meditate or really think on what a wall looks like that you have, you'll be able to see how big it is. How tall is it? How thick is it? How is it? What is it made from? Is it made from stone and it's like 3 feet thick? Is it made from maybe glass, which is highly unusual because glass is a little dangerous. So most people don't see it as glass. They see it, if the window is there, they see it as like acrylic or plastic or something that's not clear to see through, but it's still fairly thick. And some people have a two-way mirror effect. So they can see the world, but they don't want anybody in the world to see them. So these are all possibilities for what your wall may look like. Mine originally looked like I was in a castle. It was like 3 feet thick stone wall. I did have a drawbridge in my wall, but I only let it down for certain people and not for the rest of the world. So it was interesting visualization the first time I had that happen because I had no idea. I also didn't know why I had my walls. I didn't have trauma. That I know of. I mean, I didn't have anything like that. So for me, I always felt it was either when I was very young or maybe a past life to create those walls because I had no idea where they came from. And here comes the $64,000 question, or maybe nowadays it's the $1,000,000 question. Inflation, you know. So how do you take them down? Well, first, you have to become aware that you have walls. I mean, if you know for sure you have them, you're in great shape. You know that you have them. The next thing though is, do you know when they go up? Are they up for everything and you keep yourself distanced from everybody and everything in your life? Or do you feel really comfortable at home and you're happy and you're okay there? Maybe you have an animal and you're okay with the animal. Or maybe you're okay with certain people, but other people you distance. So like for me, the romantic relationships were distanced, but just them. So once you can know that you have it, and then you can see what is, who it's connected to, you can start looking at what causes the walls to go up. Can you see that? Can you see perhaps if the person says something, does it then jump up, or were they there all the time? Because when you start acting differently around someone and you think, God, this is not me. I did have a boyfriend I did that with. I've never done it before, and I've never done it since, but I acted differently around them. I was trying to force them to have me more in their life because this was a long time ago. Don't get scared, men, because I wanted to be part of the life. And so I cried and I whined and I did things that were never like me. Like I said, I'd never done it before or after. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I finally realized this all had to do with those walls I had up. I was trying to make the walls come down by hook or by crook, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. So that made me realize that, yes, this is a wall. This is something, I understand it. I'm acting differently. So this is what this is. Now, once you realize it and you see what's going on, there are all sorts of different people and healing modalities you can use to shift out of that space. So maybe you work with a therapist because you want to really go deep into what the cause is. And they are some fabulous therapists out there. Or maybe you want to work with a life coach to help you shift currently and move forward. There's also energy work that you can use. Oh, and I'm a life coach in case I haven't mentioned it. The energy work you can use, I use Marconics. And what that does is it helps raise your vibration, which means that you're moving away from the dense and the heaviness where all of these things are built. The fear, the anger, the wall is built in this heavier place. And if you raise yourself above it, the wall starts falling apart. It's like having a higher vibration, a higher pitch or something, and things just sort of disintegrate and fall. So that's what I use with the energy work, the Marconics. Now, you may, if you have most of your trouble at home, if you feel like you built a wall around your entire house, and that's like, hello, I don't have a castle, I don't really need a huge wall around my house, and maybe it's time for some energy space clearing at your home. because that takes, if you have the fear that's stuck inside, but the walls on the outside, you need to raise that up and get rid of that fear and that heaviness, because you don't want people to hold on to any of that. You want to be able to move beyond that wall. And lastly, I want to mention the guided visualizations. Of course, that's what I had mentioned at the beginning. But do realize that as you start to work to have your walls come down, you might come up with some vulnerability and some fear related to that, because they may be something that's been in place for a long, long time, and you may act from that space. And all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, somebody might hurt me. Or, oh my God, something good. So when you let your walls down, realize that that's the perfect time to start setting boundaries. And that's in the other video, so I won't go into it. But know that it's very healthy as those walls come down, either little by little or maybe blow it up, that's the time that you can set the boundaries. So instead of keeping people away from you and walling them off and walling yourself in, you can actually open up your whole life, every part of it, and you can allow yourself to set healthy, happy boundaries that make people in your life feel closer to you, that you can up and up to, because you're in a good place for that now. So guided visualization will be coming out shortly, and when it does, I will go ahead and change the bottom of this video to have the link so that you can go directly to it if you like. And if it's not there when you watch the video, it's only because it hasn't been posted yet, but it will be in a bit. And the visualization, I'm going to look at, or will help you look at what your walls look like. Are they tall, short, thin, thick? So you know where to start and where you're at. We'll look at when they come up, if they're there all the time. And I'll help you start to take the bricks out little by little, or see the wall shrinking, or whatever you need to do in order to start visualizing them being less and less. Thank you for joining me. If you're interested in hearing more, please click on the subscribe button and also the bell notification, especially so you know when the next video comes out with the visualization. I'm Carol Deshane. If you'd like to know more about me, more about Marconics energy that I spoke about earlier, or the energy space clearing, as well as True You packages, money, change your money karma VIP days, or any of the other things that I talk about on my website, by all means, check out www.connecttojoy.com, connect with the number 2 in the middle, joy.com, and it'll be below this video as well. Thank you again for joining me. Until next time.